Asteroids was, to put it lightly, a very big deal, like $2 billion adjusted dollars in a year big deal. Atari held on to Asteroids pretty tightly, rightfully, but this led to a lot of imitations, which, under pressure from lawyers, started to become more and more legally distinct from each other. Spacehawk is one such clone exclusively for the Intellivision, with later re-releases on Intellivision Lives, which was on the PS2, I forgot it was on this and emulated it, whoops, and on Microsoft's Game Room for Xbox 360, which no longer exists. Spacehawk is a legally distinct version of Asteroids using the same zero-gravity physics thing that makes that game neat. Once you start moving, it's very hard to stop moving. There's kind of an odd balance where if you go too fast, you'll end up dead very quickly because hard turns are very difficult to pull off. Having physics at all for the time is pretty cool, although it's obviously just aping off Asteroids. If the game didn't have this, it'd be a pretty basic shooter. The player can rocket around on their jetpack to shoot the Hawks, but is limited to having 2 giant booger bullets on the screen at a time, while Hawks take 3 to kill. The shooting is 16 directional, the cardinals and 3 spots in between each, which is pretty cool for the era. Most were limited to 4, maybe 8 at best. The player also has access to warps every 1,000 points they earn, which lets them warp somewhere else on the map. Not that it matters where you are or go very much, it's all basically the same, save for when the Hawks appear. The game also occasionally warps you at random, which has a pretty funny story, a glitch that caused the warp to trigger based on certain input combinations, and rather than fix it, they simply document it as a feature, a tried and true method that Game Freak is very fond of. I was pretty impressed by the graphics. The Intellivision is a pretty solid step above the Atari 2600 and the amount of relative detail is pretty good. I don't know why the little man is pure blue, but he has a few different aiming sprites and rotations all for the different directions. The meteors and blasts all have different colors, and even the background, for a fucking space game especially, where they could have gotten away with pure black, is speckled with stars that blink and even shooting stars that move across, which is a cool detail for the time. The Spacehawks themselves kinda weird me out. In-game they flap like birds, but on the covers they look like spaceships. In a zero-gravity environment, there's no point in flapping because there's no resistance to generate thrusts, which is just an odd thought I had. No music, and the audio is kinda screechy, but it is what it is. The expectation of anything else from consoles of this era is pretty silly. Spacehawk is alright. It's a decent twist on Asteroids with the warping option, even if it doesn't add a lot. It's visually good for the time, the frictionless movement is always fun to mess with. It's far from incredible, and it's certainly of its time, but it's fun for a few minutes. Not much to say about it beyond that.